Meowscarada is a very tricky rushdown fighter who excels at catching her opponents off guard and breaking through their defenses with a variety of powerful mix-up options and wall-breaking tools. This tricky little magician can easily close gaps and get up in her opponent's face, all while attacking them from angles they least expected in order to catch them off guard. And once she gets you into a knockdown state, careful planning will be required to keep yourself from becoming a volunteer for her next trick. However, her average at best range and weak disadvantage state might make it difficult to approach against characters with disjointed weapons, like swords. And while her combat prowess is impressive, the amount of tools she offers her player can be quite overwhelming at first. As a Meowscarada player, it's your job to carefully plan your attack strategy before going on with the show, using your speed to dip in and out of your opponent's range and testing their mettle. For should your opponent fall for your devious tricks, you have every tool necessary to make your show a breakout success. Meowscarada stands as a medium-sized humanoid character, her height being around the same as characters like Pit and Robin. Thanks to her designation as the Magician Pokemon, Meowscarada is shown to have a defined personality and a slew of fun and creative animations befitting her motif. And just like Incineroar before her, I feel it's important that this personality be brought to the forefront of her character design. As a result, Meowscarada will sport a very elaborate and eccentric set of animations, including the likes of waves, bows, and even performing actual magic tricks during her basic animations. She'll disappear in a puff of pollen-colored smoke for her sidestep and air dodge, she'll summon flowers from her paws while blocking, she'll even release puffs of pollen both on hit and while her shield is broken, with it having a visual comparison to a magician's hidden tricks falling out of their sleeves. As for her attack animations, Meowscarada will mainly make use of a variety of kicks and claw slashes to tear her opponent to pieces, all while throwing a few of her stylish magic tricks into the mix. An example of this comes in the form of one of Meowscarada's main forms of attack, which is a pair of vines she can extend from within her wrists, much like how a magician can pull a long string of ribbons out of their sleeves. She will also take a tip from her pre-evolution, Florigado, and tie a variety of dangerous tools to the end of them, including a flower bud and even her trademark flower bombs. On top of vines, Meowscarada will also make use of her personal flower to perform a variety of magical attacks, including but not limited to launching waves of pollen, creating a variety of leaf-based attacks, and even increasing Meowscarada's grab range. All of this comes together in a character that is designed to push your opponents into dangerous 50-50 scenarios, forcing them to make a choice that could end up losing them their stock or the match altogether. Much like her specialization in misdirection, keeping your opponent none the wiser about your offensive potential can lead to quite a deadly surprise. And if you come to a fight against Meowscarada unprepared, you'll be more messed up than the people who genuinely wanted Meowscarada to be a boring quadrupedal evolution. In terms of mobility options, Meowscarada has 2 jumps, all while being able to both wall jump and wall cling. When it comes to designing a character mechanic for Meowscarada, the feline magician is in a bit of a tricky position, not because designing one for her is by any means difficult or undoable, but rather because of the fact that Meowscarada sports multiple attacks that could each count as their own character mechanic should they be put on individual characters. As a result, instead of a singular mechanic standing above the rest, her mechanic is instead a collection of abilities that I've dubbed Master Magician. While they're all unlike anything seen in Smash as of right now, all 4 of Meowscarada's specials keep a specific design aspect in mind, and that's the fact that they're far more intricate than they might appear at face value, with each special having multiple uses and various ways to deceive your foes. On top of Meowscarada's unique ability to change the direction of her specials mid-attack that is sure to keep your opponents on their toes. As there is no actual magic involved in being a magician, it's up to the performer to keep their audience's attention focused on anything but how their tricks are done, hence why there's a lot of elaborate hand motions and quick movements. And when you give this kind of performer cat-like reflexes, you have what can be considered an unparalleled master of their craft. You think this attack is going to come from the right? That's what I want you to think. It's actually coming from behind you. You now have to make the choice to either run or block, and by the time you've made your decision, you're already forced into another guessing game by this Meow-raculuous Magician. Before long, the only thing you'll be considering is how long you take to press the start button before cycling back to the main menu. Meowscarada offers the player every tool necessary to break her opponent's defenses down, but this level of flexibility is something that will take an incredible amount of time and dedication to master. But those that stick with her complicated kit and embrace her character's depth will find a character that's not only strong, but incredibly fun. We'll talk more about Meowscarada's specials when we get to that point. But for now, let's now get this moveset discussion show started as we move on to Meowscarada's normals. As previously mentioned, Meowscarada's normals will mainly be comprised of attacks using kicks, claw slashes, attacks from her hidden whips, and a variety of plant-based attacks courtesy of her personal flower. Many of Meowscarada's attacks will also sport unique flourish animations befitting her personality, much like Incineroar before her. Meowscarada's neutral combo is Performance Standard Combo, a combo attack that will feature a pair of quick kicks before Meowscarada uses her flower to launch a wave of volatile pollen forward. This pollen will deal small yet rapid damage before the pollen balls pop and launch the opponent away, hitting up to 6 times and covering a solid range in front of Meowscarada. In terms of usability, this attack's quick speed, on top of the multi-hitting properties of the third attack, allows the player to use this as a great interrupting tool from afar and a great pressure tool when up close. But while that's the case, it's notably weaker than Meowscarada's other pressure and neutral options, so only use it if you really need to get your opponent out of your face. Meowscarada's forward tilt is Whip Whap, a stylish attack that will have Meowscarada wave her arm out in front of herself, all while extending one of the vines in her sleeves to strike at her opponent. This attack will cover a solid range in front of Meowscarada, with the vine itself being completely disjointed. And once you put both of these aspects together, you've got one of Meowscarada's best neutral tools and a great way to challenge your opponent from at least mid-range. It can potentially lose the jabs at close range though, so make sure you mind your positioning. Meowscarada's up tilt is Fake Out Flourish, a quick blow that will have Meowscarada bend down as if she's about to bow, all before following up this gesture with a rising kick. As she kicks, Meowscarada will then use her flower to release a wave of leaves, extending the move's hitbox and knocking all foes hit up into the air. In terms of purpose, this is designed to be one of Meowscarada's best combo starters, with its quick startup and low knockback growth allowing her to make use of this attack at almost any percent value. The extra disjoint provided by her personal flower also allows her to safely challenge platforms. Meowscarada's down tilt is Sneaky Sweep, a very fast poke option that will have Meowscarada perform a low kick, all while using her flower to increase her overall range and add a disjoint to the end of this attack's hitbox. This move can link into itself multiple times at very low percents, and much like her up tilt, the player can use this attack to start combos or simply pressure an opponent trying to play on the defensive. If you're looking for a move that can check your opponent's slower buttons and make sure nobody can charge a fireball, this is your go-to option. But just be sure to keep in mind that this move's range is still only average at best. Meowscarada's dash attack is Sleight of Slash, an aggressive advancing option that will have Meowscarada perform a Russian Claw Slash. This single hit blow covering a sizable range and packing enough of a punch to secure kills at higher percents. This is a fantastic neutral tool and a great way to catch your opponents off guard, as even if you only tap your dash before initiating the attack, Meowscarada will go far. However, this strength could also prove to be its greatest weakness, as should the player overextend at a bad time, it could end up getting Meowscarada seriously hurt, so be sure to mind your positioning before going for the attack. For her get-up attacks, Meowscarada will attack by either slashing around herself or performing a spinning kick, all while performing a sweeping kick for her ledge attack. Meowscarada's smash attacks are designed to show off her strongest aspects as a fighter, with all of them making use of her showman-like personality and cat-like reflexes while mixing in her elemental abilities. They also serve as some of her strongest kill confirms, as the oomph they pack compared to her regular normals is notably higher. Meowscarada's forward smash is Night Slash, a stylish attack that will have Meowscarada take a bow during the move's charge animation, all while her other arm hangs out behind her. Once the charge animation ends, Meowscarada's eyes will gleam as she drops the showman-like facade and rushes forward, performing a powerful wide-hitting slash as her arm is cloaked in darkness. This is Meowscarada's single strongest kill confirm, and thanks to its speed and range, it's a great punish tool and a potential combo ender if you can space yourself carefully during specific follow-ups. Meowscarada's up smash is Power Vine, a powerful showing of her elemental control that will have Meowscarada raise her personal flower above her head, it letting out a green pulse of energy that will cause a pair of massive coiling vines to extend out of the ground and launch all nearby foes up into the air. This move's greatest strength is its tall, disjointed hitboxes, allowing for Meowscarada to safely challenge opponents trying to either camp on platforms or attempting to land. And thanks to the way the vines will cross over one another, this move will also sport a sweet spot if the opponent is hit by the intersecting vines. However, despite its great upsides, this is Meowscarada's slowest smash attack on the recovery, and as a result, whiffing this single hit attack is a great way to get yourself punished, especially if you're attempting to attack an opponent that's on ground level. Finally, Meowscarada's down smash is Pollen Puffer, a quick yet heavy-hitting attack that will have Meowscarada use her personal flower to release explosive blasts of pollen on either side of herself in order to launch foes away. This attack will start in front of Meowscarada before ending behind her, these blasts hitting like a double-sided version of Mewtwo's down smash and being fantastic kill confirms with higher percents, with it also benefiting from a fairly quick recovery speed that can make it fairly safe at mid-range. As is to be expected of a rushdown fighter, Meowscarada sports a set of strong jumps and an aerials kit that is designed to keep up the pressure and keep her combos going, with each of these moves sporting their own unique purpose in Meowscarada's game plan. Meowscarada's neutral air is Magical Leaf, a multi-use attack that will have Meowscarada use her personal flower to surround herself in a wave of rapid-hitting leaves. these leaves covering her entire hurt box and granting the player a great combo bridge and landing option. If the player chooses to fast fall this attack, it's more than possible to follow up with a variety of Meowscarada's grounded normals, allowing for the player to relaunch their opponent and set up another aerial combo string. However, it should be noted that characters that sport large disjoints will still be able to strike Meowscarada through her ring of leaves, making this a dangerous attack to use in the neutral against your local sword fighter. Meowscarada's forward air is Shadow Cutter, a double-hitting attack that will have Meowscarada perform a horizontal slash in the air, all before spinning around and performing a second, more powerful slash to launch foes away. This move's first hit will lock opponents into the second launching strike, and thanks to the power behind the second hit, this is one of Meowscarada's primary combo enders if you're looking to cash out on your combo's damage. However, like her neutral air, the player is capable of landing with the first hit of this attack and following up with Meowscarada's grounded normals. Just be careful, as this move is far less safe to land with since it doesn't sport the disjoint of her neutral air. Meowscarada's up air is Tornado Fang, a rapid hitting attack that will have Meowscarada throw her lower half up into the air, all before performing a spinning drill kick that will deal solid damage and launch opponents upwards after the final hit. This move's quick startup and rapid hitting properties make it one of Meowscarada's best kill confirms if you can catch your opponent near the top of the screen. But if you can't set up that kill, you can instead use this move to drag your opponent back down to the stage, much like you can with Greninja's up air. Thanks to this, Tornado Fang stands as Meowscarada's best combo bridge and one of the best attacks to use when you want to pressure your opponents from below. But do be careful, as this move doesn't sport any sort of disjoint and can potentially lose a trade you can't afford to have. Meowscarada's back air is Windmill Whip, a unique aerial reversal that will have Meowscarada perform a spinning kick in the air, the whip from her wrist wrapping all the way down her leg and adding some extra range to the blow as she kicks out behind her. This move will cover a solid range and can be used as a kill option at higher percents, but thanks to the extra disjoint provided by the vine, its main use is to be used as a spacing option or a combo enter should your opponent be pushed out of the range of your forward air. Just be sure to keep in mind that, while its landing leg isn't awful, it's notably worse than that of Meowscarada's other aerials. Finally, Meowscarada's down air is Puff Popper, a powerful attack that will have Meowscarada thrust her arm down through the air. Her personal flower on the end of her paw, she releases a powerful blast of pollen. This move will cover a large area below Meowscarada as she attacks, allowing her to potentially spike opponents below the ledge just like Rob before her. But just don't try landing with this attack, as its landing leg is about what you'd expect from a meteor smash. Meowscarada will grab her opponent with one paw, all while performing a knee strike for her pummel. For her throws, Meowscarada will use her natural talent as a performer to make a mockery of her opponent's ability to fight back, with the throws being used for anything from repositioning to securing kills. Regardless of their use, they're all very showy and stylish, as they should be. Meowscarada's forward throw is Tangle Tosser, a two-part throw that will have Meowscarada use her vines to yank out her opponent's balance, all before kicking them away with a powerful straight kick before they can touch the ground. This throw can provide a number of uses for the player, from setting up offstage kills to kill confirming at higher percents to even being able to link into forward tilt at very low percents. But while it can do a lot, it's not the best at any of its options. Try using this throw to mix up your gameplay and make your mix-ups less predictable. Meowscarada's up throw is Pizzazz Pumper, this having Meowscarada lower her personal flower before stomping on the hidden vine, this causing the flower to release an upward blast of pollen that will knock the opponent up into the air. In terms of usability, this throw can be used as a combo throw at low to mid percents, but at higher percents, it can also be used to set up off the top kills if you use it from a platform. Other than that, this throw will quickly lose its value the further you go into your opponent's current stock. Meowscarada's back throw is Topsy-Turvy Takedown, one of Meowscarada's more stylish throw options that will have her walk behind her opponent, all while casually spinning them around and causing them to lose their balance. At this point, Meowscarada will then launch them away with a double palm thrust, with this being her most powerful throw option that can secure kills at higher percents. It can also be used as a repositioning tool at lower percents, but the higher knockback growth makes it less useful overall. Finally, Meowscarada's down throw is Clumsy Cord, a weak yet very reliable throw that will have Meowscarada kick out her opponent's balance, this causing them to fall to the ground and enter a hard knockdown state, all before Meowscarada turns her attention to the camera and gives a small shrug, a small smile pursing her lips as if to give a "did I do that?" to the audience. This is, hands down, Meowscarada's scariest throw, as thanks to her incredible mix-up game, her Okizeme potential is absolutely insane. Chances are very high that this is going to be the throw you're using 99% of the time you get a grab, as the amount of damage that it can lead to is incredible. We have now reached Meowscarada's specials, and this is where this Meow-raculuous Magician will truly show off her showmanship and put on the performance of a lifetime, all while showing off her tricky and diverse kit of attacks. All 4 of these specials can also have the trajectory altered by holding an alternate direction on the control stick during the move's startup, allowing the player to catch opponents off guard and punish foes that try to jump the gun with an untimely roll. Starting with her neutral special, Meowscarada will make use of a versatile pseudo-projectile that is designed to catch your opponent off guard when they least expect it and work as anything from a combo starter to a combo ender and even a kill confirm at high enough percents. This is Meowscarada's signature attack, Flower Trick. When this move starts, Meowscarada will pull out a flower bomb from an unseen location and hold it up to an unseen crowd, and as she holds it, it will start to give off a series of sparkles. These sparkles will grow in intensity the longer Meowscarada shows off the bomb for, with this being the indication for the player that the bomb is growing in power. And once the player stops charging the move, Meowscarada will wave her other arm over the bomb in order to make it disappear. Once this animation ends, Meowscarada will enter a stance endearingly named Trickster Stance, with her personal flower having disappeared as she gains a new idle stance. And if the B button is pressed again, Meowscarada will point out in front of herself, trying to pick out the recipient for her next trick. Now, one of the main things that sets this projectile apart from other projectile options in Smash is the fact that this move isn't simply tossed out once the player uses the move again, with it only working if an opponent is within a set cone of range. This cone, while unseen by the player, will mainly cover about 55 to 60% of your average stage's length, making it a move that excels more at mid-range and long-range. If there is no opponent in sight, Meowscarada will look very discouraged as she calls her flower bomb back to herself. This causing the charge state of the attack to reset and essentially forcing the player to charge the move all over again. If an opponent is within the range of the attack, however, Meowscarada will snap her fingers and cause a spotlight to descend on the player's location. At this point, the opponent will have but a brief moment to prepare themselves before the flower bomb appears and explodes on contact, with the direction it appears from being dependent on what direction the player is holding on the control stick. This means that the player is capable of setting up the direction the opponent flies in, and in turn, can potentially use this attack to set up or finish off combos that wouldn't normally be possible. If you want an example, a ground-to-air combo that usually ends with forward air can now be extended by using Flower Trick to launch the opponent back towards you. And if you want some really scary mix-up potential, try using it when you have your opponent stuck in a hard knockdown state after using your down throw. This move will even work in the air, but doing so will put Meowscarada into a free-fall state after the projectile is launched. Also, for those wondering, yes, if any opponent is within the range of Flower Trick, it is guaranteed to lock onto their location before the bomb is tossed. But faster characters, or characters that are actively moving around in general, do have a chance to get out of the way before the flower bomb can hit them. On top of that, this projectile can be reflected, but it will only reflect the projectile in the opposite direction it was launched from, not directly at Meowscarada. This means that it's more than possible for the player to make this move completely safe, and can potentially even punish the reflect if they try to do it at close range. Moving on to her side special, Meowscarada will make use of a dangerous command grab that, like her neutral special, can set up some dangerous guessing games and force your opponent into situations where panicking will lead to a world of hurt. Play rough. With this, Meowscarada's eyes will gleam a bright pink before rushing forward at incredible speed, attempting to grab onto the closest opponent. Once she makes contact with an opponent, she will unleash a series of rapid blows on her opponent so fast they will kick up a wave of dust, all while also acting as a sensor for the brutal beatdown she's giving her would-be heckler. Once the beatdown is finished, Meowscarada will then end the command grab by launching the opponent away with a powerful claw slash. But instead of simply launching the opponent straight away or straight up, the player will be able to choose which direction the opponent is launched. And thanks to that fact, this goes from a simple damage option to one of Meowscarada's best combo starters. If you want an example of some of the nutty potential this move sports, try using Play Rough to launch foes away, all before catching them mid-launch with Flower Trick to launch them back towards you, and then finishing it off by sending them flying again with a smash attack. In total, it's not unlikely for this to lead to combos that can top as much as 50+% damage, but that's only if you have all your resources ready to go. Of course, your opponent will be given a chance to potentially react to upcoming damage, as there will be a visual indicator to show which direction Meowscarada is planning to launch them, but much like the rest of her kit, you need to be prepared to react at a moment's notice, as failing to do so could lead to even further punishment and even more damage. Just make sure you don't whip that initial rushing grab, as doing so will leave you wide open to damage, as Meowscarada will play a long, unskippable animation if she whiffs. Moving on to her recovery special, Meowscarada will use her incredible agility to not only quickly move across the screen, but also throw her opponents off her tail, making it all the easier to reach that ledge. Trailblaze. With this, Meowscarada's body will become cloaked in a bright green aura as she builds up energy, her body apparently moving so fast that it leaves a series of after images behind as she moves into place. These after images will face in all 8 movement directions, and once she has built up enough energy, Meowscarada will rocket up into the air at incredible speed, all while her after images dash in the other 7 directions. These after images are designed to throw your opponent off, causing them to potentially chase after the wrong Meowscarada while her player makes it back to the stage scot-free. And this is thanks to the fact that the real Meowscarada will only be revealed after the dash starts, all while leaving a trail of flower petals behind her as she rushes through the air. As a result, your opponent will need to be prepared for an approach from any angle, and while these after images won't harm the opponent if they get in the way of the dash, Meowscarada herself will, which just adds a whole new layer of danger. Finally, for her down special, Meowscarada will make use of a deceptive multi-purpose counterattack that will sport unique properties depending on whether or not she's countering a physical attack or a projectile. Trick. With this, Meowscarada will put one arm behind her back while extending her other paw forward, her pose being like that of a magician that's looking for a volunteer for her next trick. If an opponent makes contact with her using a physical attack, she will use her extended arm to swat away their attack, all before performing a claw slash with her other arm. This slash causing the opponent to be spun around while also giving the Meowscarada player the option to move behind them during the attack, if they so choose. While the damage of this counter is notably lower than that of other counters, this move's main draw is the fact that it will leave your opponent in a dazed state once the counter concludes, making this one of Meowscarada's best skill setups if you manage to fool your opponent into attacking you. Just keep in mind, however, that the dazed state can be mashed out of, meaning that, if the player isn't careful, they could potentially end up getting punished themselves if they're trying to use this attack at lower percent values. And if used against an opponent in the air, Meowscarada will cause them to tumble and fall to the ground in a hard knockdown state. While this has the potential to create even more mix-ups if the Meowscarada player can predict the mash in space properly, this counter works much better the higher your opponent's percent value is. If Meowscarada is hit by a projectile, however, she will instead roll the projectile along her arm before catching it with her personal flower, causing it to disappear and store the projectile for her own use. In this state, pressing down B again will have Meowscarada thrust her personal flower forward, all before expelling the projectile back the way it came at an increased velocity. While this increased speed can be used to catch opponents off guard, this counter will not amplify the damage of the projectile that Meowscarada absorbs, with it dealing the same damage to her opponent as it would have done to her. Next is the final smash, and for this, Meowscarada will put on an epic finale that will leave her opponents seeing stars, or at least leave them with a seriously bad case of vertigo. All of this courtesy of the new stylish mechanic introduced in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. This is Terra Petal Performance. To start the attack, Meowscarada will perform an incredibly fast rushing slash. This slash passes through all opponents in her path and locking up the 3 opponents into a cinematic beatdown. Once slashed, a series of vines will emerge from the path that Meowscarada carved, knocking her opponents up into the air and putting them into prime position for Meowscarada's greatest trick. At this point, Meowscarada will trastralize, her body emitting waves of gleaming light and flower petals as she leaps up into the air, chasing her quarry down before performing a second rushing slash through all caught opponents. This slash will deal minimal damage on its own, but it's not the slash your foes need to worry about. For upon closer examination, it will be shown that Meowscarada has rigged her opponents with a slew of flower explosives. At the clap of her hands, Meowscarada will cause these bombs to go off, dealing huge damage as she lights up the sky with a sea of pollen and petals. And to end the final smash, Meowscarada will bow before turning around and unleashing Terra Blast, a huge green beam of flower petals and leaves emitting from her palm that will deal rapid damage before launching the opponent away. Meowscarada will deactivate her trastralization before bowing to an unseen crowd, all before returning to her idle animation. For her victory theme, Meowscarada will take a step away from the usual victory theme used by the Pokemon Fighters of Smash and instead utilize her own personal victory theme in the form of the badge acquired jingle from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. While she would more than likely use the same victory theme as the other Pokemon should she actually get into Smash, I figured I'd add in something new for the sake of the video. Victory animation number 1 will show a spotlight shining down on high as Meowscarada pulls out a rose from her wrist, all before smelling it and tossing it at the camera. After she does, she will wave and play to an unseen crowd until the player cycles back to the character select screen. Victory animation number 2 will have Meowscarada create a bouquet of flowers before tossing it up into the air. At this point, the bouquet will explode into a wave of raining petals as Meowscarada bows graciously towards the camera. Finally, victory animation number 3 will have Meowscarada playfully roll a flower bomb along her arms, all before making it disappear. As the bomb disappears, Meowscarada will turn towards the camera and perform a sassy pose, all before the bomb falls in the background and causes her to slightly flinch. It's a blink and you'll miss it moment that shows her experience as a performer, but a noise that loud to a creature with sensitive hearing will make even the most professional magician slightly jump. Taunt number 1 will have Meowscarada rest her paw on her hip, all before raising her other paw in a sassy manner. This taunt is a reference to one of the Sprigatito's idol animations, and is designed as a way of bringing Meowscarada's confident personality to the surface. Taunt number 2 will have Meowscarada take a bow, all before tilting her head up and flashing a devious smile. Like her first taunt, this is designed to show off Meowscarada's personality as well as the trickster undertones that comes with being part dark type. Finally, taunt number 3 will have Meowscarada pull out a set of small flower bombs and casually juggle them, all before tossing them up into the air and catching them with her personal flower. At this point, Meowscarada will perform a showman-like pose, and hold it just long enough to make sure her opponent is impressed. Meowscarada's colors are designed to be a blend of original colors, colors referencing other Pokemon, and colors referencing various types of cats. Despite this, however, the color of Meowscarada's attack effects will remain the same regardless of which color the player chooses, with this being done to keep readability consistent. Color number 1 is Meowscarada's standard appearance, featuring a mint green fur color along with a deep green mask, scarf, and legs. While the effects of each color remains the same, almost every single aspect of Meowscarada's color scheme will change between each option, including her pink flower necklace and purple eye color. Color number 2 will turn Meowscarada's fur a bright orange, with the interior of her scarf, her flower collar, and her eye markings becoming a bright yellow. On top of that, her eyes and nails will become a sky blue. This color is designed to reference the orange tabby breed of cats, and it's a personal favorite of mine as it was designed after my own cat, Tucker. Color number 3 will change Meowscarada's fur to a snow white while her mask, scarf, and legs become a jet black. On top of that, her eye markings, flower collar, nails, and eyes will be changed to a scarlet red. This is designed to be a Smash original, although there are plenty of white-furred cats out there that you can consider this a reference to. Color number 4 will change Meowscarada's fur to a deep purple, while her eye markings, eyes, and nails will be made to match the bright pink of her flower collar. This is another Smash original that is designed to emulate Meowscarada's dark typing. Color number 5 will turn Meowscarada's fur black while everything other than her eyes will be made a snow white, with her eyes being made a bright yellow. This is a reference to many different types of cats, although the closest reference I can think of is the Black Panther. Color number 6 will give Meowscarada the color scheme of the fire starter Skeledirge, with her fur being changed to a bright red while her mask, scarf, and legs will become a bright silver and various highlights become a bright yellow. Color number 7 will give Meowscarada the color scheme of the water-type starter, Quaquaval, with her fur becoming an ocean blue while her markings will become a bright sky blue. On top of that, Meowscarada's white scarf and legs will be complemented by a bright red face mask, with this being designed to match Quaquaval's head crest. Finally, color number 8 will give Meowscarada her shiny colors, with this changing the shading of her fur, scarf, mask, and legs to a different type of green while her flower color and eyes will be changed to a vivid purple. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet were very interesting titles to say the least. For what looked like a low effort and headlong rush into a new generation to keep their 3-year generation plan intact, turned into what I can only describe as one of the best Pokemon games ever made. From the great quality of life changes to the surprisingly dark undertones to Larry, yes, Larry, this is definitely a game that is worth its time for people that stick around with it until the end, as the climax of Scarlet and Violet's story can only be described as the best writing the series has ever had. It's also a generation that has spawned quite a few potential fires that people would love to see be added to Smash. And as of right now, the frontrunner for this position seems to be the Magician Pokemon, Meowscarada. Now, I don't think this is surprising, as the writing was definitely on the wall that Meowscarada was going to be the one that Game Freak would try to push like Cinderace and Greninja before her, but considering the time frame that Scarlet and Violet came out in, and how far out we might be from a potential new console, let alone a new Smash title, I don't even know if any Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet will even be considered for the next Smash. Which is a shame, as it definitely feels like the past 2 generations have designed a ton of Pokemon that could have been fantastic characters. In order for Meowscarada to even have a chance at being considered for the next Smash, this means that the next Smash would need to be released before 2026, as that's when Gen 10 will launch should the trends of the Pokemon Company continue. And looking at how things are going right now, for both the Switch and the lack of any information regarding a potential new system, I don't think we'll be seeing a new Smash before we see a new generation of Pokemon. And that's not even considering what other surprises Gen 9 might have in store for us. Only time will tell if Scarlet and Violet will be able to truly beat the clock. But for the time being, I'm not particularly confident in its chances. Which is a shame too, as Meowscarada has a ton of potential on her own. What a shame. What a shame. If you like what you saw, be sure to like and comment, as it not only helps out with the algorithm but also gives me a much needed boost in morale. If you want to see more, be sure to subscribe, and if you want to jump right into the other movesets I've made, follow the link in the description to go to my Challenger Concept playlist. Just make sure you press that little bell icon, as doing so will leave you assured that you never miss a future upload. For now, I've been Felicia Fan, and I hope you have a good one.